Hi, we're here for another conversation about becoming retail, but it's a special edition because we just finished Cyber Week, which of course is a huge component of retail. And to be honest, a huge turning point, I think, for the year when it comes to digital transformation. And I'm so lucky to have Rob here because I know he was in the thick of things, tracking all of the trends from Commerce Cloud. So, all right, Rob, are you ready to be in the hot seat? I'm going to pepper you with a ton of questions.
Let's do this. Yeah, it's good to see you, Michelle. Let's get into it.
Excellent. So, rapid fire, what was your overall take on Cyber Week?
Well, yeah, I think first it's really important to mention how we get our data. You mentioned Commerce Cloud. So what we do is we bubble up all the data that's flowing through the platform, the taps, the clicks, the swipes, and we aggregate it. Obviously, we remove all personally identifiable information. And it really becomes the de facto standard of what's happening in retail. So at the end of the day, it's billions and billions of shoppers, not saying what they're going to do, but actually what they did do. And so to your question, Michelle, what does Cyber Week look like? Well, you're probably used to hearing this term through this holiday and through this whole year. It's been unprecedented. We saw 36% year-over-year growth globally and 29% growth domestically here in the US. And really, at the headline level, that sounds interesting. If you asked me earlier in the year, like let's say January, February, if we hit those numbers, we'd be looking good. I'd be like, we'd be hitting it out of the park. But, a whole new digital baseline was set earlier in the year with 71% year-over-year increase in the second quarter and 55% year-over-year increase in the third quarter. So we kind of entered the holiday season questioning what this could look like. And it was unprecedented, not only what happened during Cyber Week, but the fact that it really became an extended holiday season starting earlier than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's amazing. People are shopping online in greater numbers. Was there anything that surprised you?
Surprises, Michelle, we're never supposed to be surprised. Come on now. Well, but in actuality, yes, especially around Cyber Monday. The actuals came in a bit softer than projected in that we realized as an industry an 18% year-over-year growth globally and a 10% year-over-year growth in the US. Now, again, if you asked me this earlier in the year, I'd say I'll take it. That's on a very significant base, Cyber Monday being the second largest day of the holiday season behind Black Friday for digital. But people had really high expectations. But you know what? As we think about it, maybe we shouldn't have been surprised, and certainly nobody should be disappointed because we saw an earlier start to the holiday season. It really started for the industry around Prime Day, where retailers not named Amazon saw a 66% year-over-year increase. And it wasn't just that event, but it was also the pandemic. Consumers were concerned about their health and safety. They were wondering if they were going to get actually the products that they ordered, right? We all had shipping issues earlier in the year, and there's reports from us and others around Shipageddon with a 5% overcapacity. And, product availability was also top of mind. So it pulled demand earlier in the season, but not just that, earlier in the week as well. For the week before Cyber Week, we saw an 80% year-over-year growth. Specifically on that Friday, we saw a 95% growth. So, we've been battling with this dynamic of discount chicken, as I call it, for the last many years, where retailers would throw a lot of different promotions earlier and earlier. But you know what? Consumers held out. They waited. They were patient. And it actually, at the end of the day, the consumers won. But in this case, we did see a successful spreading out, which did, if I bring this back to your question, have an impact on Cyber Monday.
Yeah, that's a big surprise. But I think that's kind of the intentions of the retailers was to spread out the demand because of all of the issues that they face right now with regards to health and safety and the shipping issues. So what were the hot categories? What were people purchasing?
Yeah, sure. Well, sporting goods was big. because people wanted to get out, get exercise, get some fresh air. We also saw, of course, consumer electronics as the second largest growth area, but the one that really stuck out was food and beverage. Who would have thought, not just over the holiday, but for the entire year? But when you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because particularly for the first couple of quarters of this year, people turn to digital for these essential categories. If you think about my mother-in-law as an example, she has a pre-existing lung condition. She normally would want to go into a supermarket, touch and feel the produce, make sure it's fresh, but she's not doing that. She turned to digital, right? And by the way, she's not alone. We saw in the first half of the year that there was a 40% increase of digital shoppers. And a lot of them were going to new categories like food and beverage. And that translated to Cyber Week, where we saw a 22% increase of these new digital shoppers shopping in these new categories like food and beverage.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to the shift of transactions to digital when you see the number of unique shoppers increase, and 40% growth in the first half of the year was outstanding, and to grow another 22% on top of that is really monumental. Which leads me to my next question, which is, you have all of these new digital shoppers shopping categories they haven't done online. What should retailers do to respond to this trend and plan for in the future?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not just like you said, the holiday at this point is on autopilot to a large degree. It's more, what are these new baselines that retailers should think about, not just now, but as you mentioned, into the future? And there are really three things that come top of mind. The first one speaks to the fact it's not just digital against physical, it's the blending of both. And those retailers who really leaned into their stores as fulfillment centers will do well now into the future as well. We saw over Cyber Week, those that offered curbside pickup saw a 32% higher growth rate than those that didn't. The other aspect, though, as it relates to the store, is the store associate. And I was having a conversation as part of our customer advisory board recently, where one of our members said, what? The biggest problem with our store associates was, and there was a dramatic pause. We're like, all right, where is this going to go? And she said, well, it's the fact that they're so tethered to the store, right? So those that are thinking about their associates as brand ambassadors for social, right? Being out there in the community, for marketing, for, as I talked about, fulfillment, but also service as well. They're so knowledgeable. They're so passionate about the product and the brand. Why not put them at the front line, helping on the service side? The second is shopping at the edge. So consumers aren't just coming to retailers' properties anymore. And it's important that consumers get the brand interaction wherever they are, whether that's on social, messaging, live streaming, or even gaming. And so it's imperative to push the brand to wherever the consumers are. It really becomes the new shopping mall, if you will, because it's creating this traffic. And in terms of the traffic, they're able to monetize that with inspiration, with community, and with convenience. Right now, candidly, it's fairly clunky, not just around inspiration, but breaking down that friction to the actual purchase. And then the third piece, especially in the context of these new digital shoppers, is mobile. You can't sleep on mobile. And obviously, we've been focused on that as an industry, breaking down that clunkiness that we've seen on that small form factor. And some of the specifics we're seeing is applying artificial intelligence, really putting that right product above the fold, really streamlining the user experience, especially around the checkout, especially around advanced technologies for payment to smooth out what has been a really cumbersome checkout event. So again, I would encourage retailers to focus on that. And just broadly, I would say I'd categorize it as moving from scrappy to scale. And that's why, based on research, Michelle, that you know better than anybody, with Becoming Retail of 500 leaders around the world, 75% are looking to accelerate their technology investments, and almost 50% are looking to make more investments in the people. That doesn't just mean hiring more, but reskilling and thinking about, again, how to unleashing these store associates. So a lot of excitement, a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration coming out of this holiday season.
Definitely. You've got me very excited to see how the rest of the month goes and what lies in the future. Thank you so much, Rob, for all of these insights. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle. Happy holiday, and really enjoyed talking as part of our journey to becoming retail.